I know there's a demo out for Rebirth, and I think
Mhm.
for the most part, the four of us kind of know what to expect in terms of how it's going to look just from the trailers, maybe how it's going to play if you dabbled in the demo at all. I just dabbled a little bit. I didn't play the whole thing. Um, but what are you guys most excited about? What should anyone who's listening or watching still, what should we be most hyped about? What are you looking for? So, of course, Dan, you give us your thoughts first, but anyone else chime in too. Like, what has you excited for this game, and what are you expecting to see when you fire it up?
It's funny because like when they first announced the whole thing even existing, I was at the very beginning skeptical and kind of cynical about them splitting the game up into parts.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're gonna divide it up, and then they were kind of like, oh, so there's gonna be some new things in there, perhaps. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I feel. And then like just over time, I did that quickly went away, and I was like, yes, no, like,
God
and
is
then
solid,
and then
cold heart.
remake existed, and I'm like, I'm here, like, give me the little extra little bits of
I'm
story.
here.
I'm here for it. Like, I'm most excited about the new stuff in Rebirth. What are they gonna do? How are they gonna, you know, unveil things that existed in the OG one? How is it gonna play out here, and anything new that they throw in there? Because honestly, one of my favorite chapters in remake is chapter 4, which is completely made just for that. It didn't exist in the original one, which is when you go with Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs to the top side, and you infiltrate that base because she needs like the stuff for the explosive, and then you fight Roach in there.
Hmm.
That whole section did not exist in the original, and I love that. Like, I
Yeah.
was I was when I was replaying the other day, like right when you're outside of Jesse's parents' home, I stand there. I just
Hmm.
stand there and I'm like looking around because it's like you don't get to see the top side,
Yeah.
like, and it's just awesome. It's just such a cool vibe, and the music there is like really nice too. It just has like a nice like vibe to it, like kind of like a nice starry night kind of like vibe to the music in that one moment. So yeah, I'm honestly most excited to see what kind of wacky new shit they're gonna throw at us. How are they gonna break our hearts potentially, or not break our hearts, or what? Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
like, I
And
don't
what
know.
kind of cliffhanger are we going to be stuck with for a few years
Yeah,
after
yeah,
this?
exactly, exactly.
Because
That's the
the
thing.
is it fair to say I don't think remake had a cliffhanger so much as a tease for what's to come, but that story
It felt
they,
like a
they
really,
completed an arc for that
yeah,
game.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
There was
And
something.
also it was like it cemented that, like, I mean, with the whole interaction between Sephiroth and Cloud at the end, where he's just like, we're finally freed of our, original fates. Like, we can really, like, live our, like, lives are live out this
Mhm.
new story. And like I feel like they're like that explains how different things are going to be going forward, in
Sure.
my opinion.
Mhm.
And I'm excited for that stuff the most, is
Yeah.
just to see like what are, like Dan was saying, what are we deviating to
And
and
how
from.
quickly
And
will it deviate? Are we going to be like early in going, oh man, they're going different,
yeah,
or is it going to be like, okay, I knew this was coming until the very end? Will they do some
Well,
twists that surprise
yeah,
us?
right.
if you know about a certain character from the original game and stuff that they well how at the very end of remake, and then if you've seen any trailers at all, you're curious about this character because of reasons that I won't be too specific about, and it's like that already is like completely different, and you're like, what is even going on there, because it's not lining up with what you're seeing with the main crew, and it's like, what does that even mean? Like, what is going on there? So um yeah. I was just like, what are they doing? What are
Yeah.
they doing, man?
I think
So
there's a cool celebration to be had about the development of this game too. I think a couple years ago they were talking about the restructuring of how they develop video games to just make it more streamlined and more
mhm, mhm.
quicker and stuff like that. And whenever we're looking at a game like Final Fantasy 15, which was in development for how many years, Dan?
Decade.
Yeah, and like how long did it end up being? Like 50, 60 hours, Now we're
Yeah.
talking about a video game, Final Fantasy VII Remake, that was made in 4 years,
Hmm.
is over 100 hours long.
Yeah.
And like they were right. Like they said that they were going to do something, and they're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did figure out a way to streamline how to develop video games. And now we're getting like one of the biggest games they've ever made ever. And From what the reviews are saying, it's probably one of the greatest experiences that you could have in this genre. So it's like,
Mhm.
how epically exciting is that to to see just like kind of where they've come in the last couple entries of this long-standing franchise.
Yeah.
Even 16 they turned around in a really doable amount of time,
Yeah,
True.
they worked on it for a good while, but when the
it wasn't
game
10
came
years,
out,
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it wasn't 10 years. I think it was 6. I think when all said and done. But the game is freaking smooth, man. That game doesn't really
I have it on good authority that there was a lot of frame problems and issues.
Oh, okay.
That's what a lot of people online said. I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had literally no issues.
I think people did have various, experiences with that, but I don't remember having very many.
Just mild ones for me. I think I talked about them in the Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah. You didn't come off negative though, like I've seen online. Where,
I was making it up. I didn't want
I've seen some people say it was unplayable because of how bad the frames were and stuff like that wasn't you. People were being really hyperbolic.
To be honest, though, there are a lot of people that are super there's the following of the anti-action game too. So it's is there a layer of that of them just trying to throw a game?
Well, yeah, because it was an RPG enough.
Sure,
or whatever.
That kind of nonsense. So you never know, but yeah, I'm excited. Like you were saying with the synergy stuff in Yuffie's DLC. I've seen a couple of them. And another character I didn't actually care about in the original one was Kate Sith. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to be in this one, at least combat wise, because I seen I think it was the one with Aerith and Kate Sith, where it's just a freaking beam attack. It just looks like a Kamehameha basically. And I'm just dude, what the this is insane. It's
excited
just
excited for Red 13 in armor.
Yes.
On the back of Chocobos.
Yes.
That's gonna be
Red
my
13
favorite.
sitting riding the Chocobos.
Yeah. He just looks so goofy every time they try and make him a human, and I just love it.
Yeah,
I sweater on a dog. It's what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, I had seen during interviews and stuff them talking about what were they gonna do? How were they really gonna? They're no, just have them standing upright, on the. It's just gonna look ridiculous and awesome, and they just
we're just gonna have to surrender to it.
Yeah, and it's just
so here for it.
I'm here for it. It looks great. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jeff, you have the least experience overall, but playing off of remake and everything, what do you how are you feeling?
I'm just excited to play the sequel to the 4th best game to come out in 2020.
Sure. Okay.
4th best.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, that's you know what? That's your opinion, man.
Wait, we had Ghost of Sushi and Last of Us Part 2. What else was that year?
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The turnaround counts.
All right, 4th best. All right, fair enough.
No, but no, for real though. I am so engrossed in the story, and I'll watch the recap to fully fill in some gaps that might be there after playing just remake.
Crisis Core. I don't know what you want to do with Crisis Core, but that's actually super important as well.
Okay.
So.
I'm just not interested in playing that style of game, but I will watch a summary.
Yeah,
of
Me
Crisis.
neither. I
Yeah,
don't know
watch
that,
a
even though it's
summary,
kind of short, I don't picture myself.
Yeah. But I will
Honestly,
watch a summary of that one. Yeah.
You can even just watch the end of the summary because, in my opinion, with Crisis Core, the main meat of the story is what happens when you get to Nibelheim. The Nibelheim stuff, and then after that is yes, Kratos, exactly. He yells out,
Atreus are hanging out, yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just totally, I play more narrative games than not. Sometimes when the gameplay is non-existent and it's just a narrative game, even I play those games. But this one has a stellar story, at least so far. Even for a total noob like me as well. The first game had such an amazing story that I'm most hyped to see that through more than anything else. Because I know as long as the action's there, and it looks like it is, just like in remake, with a little more options, obviously. If the action is very similar in terms of gameplay, I'll just eat it up. These are my type of games. Enjoy the combat. Yes.
Maybe you've heard about us talk about this, Jeff, but characters like Biggs and Wedge and Jesse were non-existent characters in the first game. They had a couple lines of dialogue. You care about them.
Yes.
When by the time, who else is getting the Wedge Jesse treatment in the sequel here?
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people. We're gonna see a lot of people who are man, that guy was really cool in that one city, and then suddenly they're a fully fleshed out character in this game. And how many people are we gonna get there, and how many new things are we going to get? Kind of like some of the bosses that you fight at the end of Intergrade, where it's what's going on with all this? these super
Even the main remake
experimental
game, you had that
things.
Roche guy who's on the motorcycle, I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about him. Like he's
a
going
lot
to
of
be in this game
opportunity-
somehow, right?
A lot of opportunities for some really cool, flashy bad guys. You know.
Okay,
some
now I
really
just
cool,
remembered
flashy-
what chapter 4 was.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
describing
the
it,
motorcycle guy. Yeah.
as soon as he said Chase, I was like, "Oh, it's that chapter? That wasn't even there."
Yeah, that was
Bro.
not none of that. Yeah, that whole
That's
thing
all
That's what
did
new.
not
made me
happen.
go, "I got to see this game through." Like that was like the first
Wow.
part. The
So
first part
good.
that made me go, "Holy crap, dude!"
Same with
And-
the ending where you're like getting out of Shinra like on the bikes and like leading up to the big fight with Sam. Like that's not part of the original game.
right,
That's like
yeah.
the best part of the whole entire game, you know, and it's not even in the original at all.
Yeah, because in the original one, you fight that thing that you do fight in the game. That's the chase down the highway. But then you just they climbed down the end of the highway, and then they'd go out into the open world, which is now what we're gonna be going out into the open world. So we're continuing like the OG one. But yeah, characters like Roach, which like there was definitely he's a cheesy like new age Square character in my opinion, but I like the idea of him because he's a first class soldier, which I have ideas of what they're gonna kind of do with him that I think is interesting, and we didn't really get that in the original one, which is and they talk about it in remake the what is it, the cellular deterioration and all that. They actually mentioned that in remake. So like I'm kind of thinking that might be something that we experience with Roach. So he already seemed a little, like a lunatic in one. How is that going to play out with this? Like how much more insane is he going to, like, you know what I mean? So it's like he's going to be kind of like the example of like, oh, this is what happens when you're not Cloud and this does affect your body, like that sort of thing. Like
big time. Well, and even Intergrade, started doing some kind of plate spinning for stories that are going to happen in Advent Children with the reunion stuff and stuff like that. So you have those cloaked figures who were too exposed to, we don't call it Mako anymore. It's Mako, I guess. Whatever.
It's always Mako. Stop it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
like
where
Mako.
like they're wandering around just saying reunion over and over again, and like that's like a big thing for Advent Children. So it's like we're gonna get like how much stuff in 2 are we gonna get that's like
well that's
that's
in the was that in the first disc? I can't remember if that was the first disc, but yeah, it's them all marching forward to a certain point in the original game. They're all marching forward and then you're kind of following behind them, but they're all sort of like almost like passing out in the original one. But yeah, just mumbling reunion and all that shit. So but yeah, I mean,
because I don't remember getting any of that in remake, and then like you started maybe they're where you're replaying.
Well, there was a couple of the hooded guys with the tattoos.
Yeah,
on their,
I guess
on
I just
their
don't
arms.
remember.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
then edit all that out.
Okay.
Put in theme music.
Like remember, yeah, because there's that one scene earlier on, Kyle, when what is it? Cloud is like in his new little apartment thing, and he's got the neighbor that's like, oh, he's like mumbling.
I do remember that, yeah.
And then he looks like Sephiroth for a sec. So Cloud's like freaking out. He goes to swing at him, and Tifa's like, wait, no, hold on.
And then he has like a hood,
yeah, he's just like, it's Carlos or something. I forget. She says like the dude's name, and it's like, oh, okay, he has a name. But yeah, they're clearly also kind of expanding on that and kind of speaking more to that because they also show up in like you said in the Intergrade DLC. That's just going to be the fun stuff. Is like this game is clearly what they probably like what they imagined back then if they had the technology of today to be able to do like with the full voice acting and really expand on scenes and kind of explain things more instead of just written dialogue, which is what we did. We read dialogue that they just kind of put in the game. They can kind of really like settle in with these moments. I mean, I'm a big story, guy. We all know this. So for me, yeah, that's the main thing. That's what I'm most curious about.
Yeah. I'm excited for the countless mini games. That's the word that keeps on getting thrown around. It's countless. There are countless. There's not 12. There's not 22. There's not 32. It's countless. That's how many mini games there are.
Like the OG one had a lot.
The original did, but like it sounds like they're really blowing it out. In terms of all the side stuff to do.
Because I mean, there was a
I'm
certain
really
place
excited
you
for that.
go to in the original one that had literally,
Yeah.
like all that stuff. But then there were things that you would just do outside in the open world. You'd find a place, and there was like, I mean, there's literally a town or whatever that's like a tower in the original one that you go to, and there's literally like a strategy a game type of like mini game thing involved with that. Which they actually, I don't know if you played that in the in Intergrade, Kyle. Actually, I think
you have to do it
do
once, and you have to do it once. Yeah.
Yeah, they give you a board game mini game version of that in this. So I'm curious to see how that's going to translate.
Which I couldn't wait to like not do that, and then I won, and I was like, all right, I'll do this again.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
I thought it was gonna be like the Witcher one, where I'm like, I don't get this.
Sure. Yeah, but it makes sense.
Mad about
Stop
it.
making me pay Gwent or whatever it's called. Stop it.
So I'm curious
There
how
was a
that's
Sea
going
of
to work.
Stars game just like that, where I was like, okay, I did the move you
Yeah.
wanted me to, and I still don't get it.
Yeah,
So this game is dumb now.
It's like me
But then-
playing Blitzball on Final Fantasy X. I'm like, what do you want from me? I don't get it.
Dude, I love all of these mini games. I love all of them. Even Blitzball. People shit on Blitzball.
Hey,
but
Blitzball
like,
Sucks. It's because Blitzball sucks. That's why people.
nah,
shit
you're
on
just
it.
bad at
Hey.
sports, Kyle. You're just bad.
I
at
mean, that's
sports.
not untrue. Not related, but it's
I will
not
say
untrue
when you
either.
like upgrade your blitzball team and they actually get good, you're like, ooh, you feel the difference. Like
Oh,
I like. Yeah.
I
Dude,
played
Titus, when
Final
you get
Fantasy
him all the way up,
10
like-
maybe 10 times over the course of my life at different stages of my life. I've never gotten smart enough to fully understand how to play Blitzball. I just haven't. I don't know.
You know what, Kyle? I'll teach you how to blitz.
I won't understand it. I promise.
Do you
Won't
get the,
understand.
you didn't get the reference, right? Teach me how to blitz in the beginning. Okay, no.
I try
It's-
and block out Blitzball.
The kids actually say that in the very beginning. They yell at Titus and they say, "Teach me how to blitz." So I was doing,
Oh,
I was
okay.
doing that.
Yeah,
I was doing that.
And then that cool rock song came on. That metal.
Yeah,
song,
that's right. That's right. But yeah, dude, and I love that the full cast is being introduced in this. They have confirmed that a couple of them are not going to be necessarily playable, but we're getting the full cast too, which is awesome. So we'll at least like have them voice acted, getting like who they are, like how they're interpreted in this. So I'm very excited for that too, to just have the team. Sucks that we can't play as all of them, but
That's okay. We're gonna
It's fine.
play as plenty, and
Yeah.
all of them are gonna play different. I'm happy with what we're getting. So
it's a lot.
Well, I figured I would, unless we have more hype to go, but I want to end with a bunch of quotes from the reviews that I've seen, just to like.
I haven't read any, so I'm excited. For
If
this.
you're not hyped enough, some of these quotes that I grabbed, there's so many, and I'm sure I skipped a bunch. And I didn't like grab who said them. I'm just grabbing like little snippets from all the different review summaries. So unless there's something else that you guys want to get.
Tim, did you want to
Yeah,
add
about
anything? I feel like maybe you hadn't said.
Oh,
like,
as a musician, I'm hyped for the music.
yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the best music in the business.
Like,
so.
like
Yeah,
I said in the chat, there's 3 specific songs that I'm like, I feel like I'm absolutely going to bawl like a little girl. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, there's 3. I can't even wait, dude.
Yeah, so there's before I read these quotes, for me personally, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do with combat this time. I don't know what you guys are talking about with the synergy, but it sounds cool.
Okay.
I'm excited for that. I'm very excited to see what summon elements are there and what classic Final
Yes,
Fantasy stuff is worked in.
yes.
That's one of my favorite things about 7 was the summons were so cinematic. That was like
Yes.
that was the first time I'd seen anything like that in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Was the summons. So looking forward to that piece. And then of course there's the major moment at the end of the second act in the original game that I assume is going to be, if not the climax of this game, then what's going to happen? So
I'm
there's
pretty
something
sure they've, unless they're just trying to like mess with our brain. I don't know why they would say like, we're confirming that that's actually where this game ends, is at that particular place.
So I'm looking forward to that, just because that was there's a few moments in gaming where a story, a character moment, whether it's a win or a loss or somewhere in between, or an emotional thing. And this is one of the earliest ones that stuck with me. It's always like I still can picture sitting there at my buddy's house. We're playing the game. We're both just like, oh, like I still remember that moment, watching that all unfold.
And that's the end
it
of
was
disc
sadness,
1.
and then it was anger that so much time was spent grinding them to a
Yes.
certain level.
But like that's the end of
like
disc.
this is PS1 days. They didn't care. I'm like, sorry. Too bad.
And it's early.
Right.
It's early on. It's the end of disc 1. You have an entire second disc, like of more story. Like it's like, oh, okay, wow.
Just move
By the
on.
way, there's a thing it reminded me a lot. There's 2 games from the PS1 era that did this, and the first one was Suikoden 1, You have a kind of a loyal sidekick character who's your protector for the whole game, who meets an unfortunate demise, but there's things you can do if you collect all the stars of destiny, and then you do this little side quest storyline. You can actually choose to resurrect one person, so you can bring. So it's a really cool story moment there too. So there's certain moments where like you have character loss and that kind of thing that just that hit, and so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'm also, I mean, I love a good open world to explore. I love a good open world to explore.
Yeah.
And so everything I'm reading is that this is a fantastic, multi-layered, wonderfully designed open world, or open areas, whatever the setup is. But as far as exploration goes and how big it is, it sounds awesome. So I'm very, very excited for that as well. So yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm very excited to drop everything else I'm doing and just play this. So I did not do the replay of Remake like I was kind of hoping, but knew I probably wouldn't get to. But I was hoping to play it a little bit. I did play it a little bit on Steam Deck over the holiday. So I've played the game recently, just through that opening section and beat that first boss. But I didn't play super far into it. But here's some quotes from some of the reviews that are out there. Bigger and better than Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's I've seen various versions of that throughout. Well, specifically than Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, specifically that part of the end. Yeah.
Here we go. Incredible and multi-layered open world, outstanding combat, and with a heartfelt story. Those are things that are like super important to me when it comes to gaming. Right? Give me a great world to explore, outstanding combat, and a heartfelt story. I'm gonna buy your game.
Hit me in the heart, damn it! Yeah. Hit me in the feels.
I saw a lot of this too, versions of this phrase, utterly massive. They keep talking about how large this game is. Like it's even, I was reading one review, and I'll give you one guess who the outlet was, complaining that it's too big and that they need to like rethink how big their games are getting.
IGN.
No. Polygon.
Oh, I was close. I was going to say Kotaku.
Talk about someone who's never on my mind is Polygon.
Yeah, they don't do grades anymore. They just scold them for what they should have done better. Do better is usually
should have been a girl.
Hashtag do better Polygon.
Do better. Surpasses the heights of Remake in every way.
Sure.
The most impressively ambitious game Square has made since the Final Fantasy Golden Age.
Wow. Okay. That's high praise.
The rest are terrible. That's what they're saying.
If you enjoyed Remake and you have fond memories of the PS1 original, you'll love every minute of this memorable character-focused adventure. That's got me sold as well. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Yeah. The first game was a smash hit. Rebirth runs laps around it in almost every way. I mean, that's high praise for the fourth best game from 2020, right?
That's high praise.
This is one of my favorite ones. This is the franchise's Empire Strikes Back.
Wow. They did the Star Wars.
Nice. It's soon to be. The expression is soon to be almost as good as a sequel as Dune Part 2.
That's what it's gonna. Yeah.
We're gonna eventually swap out Empire.
Biggs and Wedge are going full circle. They get another Star Wars call out.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of references to this being a modern RPG masterpiece. Like a lot of different versions of using this.
It's all the M word quite a bit. Yeah.
It's majestic, immense, funny, emotional, and varied. I like all those words. Majestic, immense, funny.
Those are good words.
Immense is.
You want to hear the word varied when you're talking about a 100-hour game.
That's right.
Time. You know what
Absolutely.
You want to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I like this one a lot. Just sums it up really well. They said it's a masterpiece. Square has just created one of the best RPGs of all time.
Oh.
Wow.
Dude, if you're not hyped after those quotes, come on. Wow.
Somebody.
Those were all just random people on Twitter.
Wow. Those were just me.
I just said all those.
Yeah.
It was me.
I just put it into ChatGPT. I asked it to spit out a bunch of quotes about how good the game is. Yeah. No, man, this game is going to be. We already know that it's amazing, and I can't wait to experience it for myself. I can't wait to put the headphones in. Kids are in bed. Lights are off, screen is on, and just sit and play it until I start to fall asleep with the controller in my hand. That's what's going to happen. And
then you go to sleep with your controller and do stuff to it. Yeah.
What's the last part?
We'll be right back.
I agree too quickly with you on that one.
But yeah, remake basically walked so this game could run.
I like that.
When we knew that the end of Remake was going to be, Midgar. It's like, okay, well, that's a very small portion of the original game. How are you gonna stretch that out? That's what she said. And then
that one's a good one.
Jeff approves.
But like, this is where it gets exceptionally exciting, because again, like, aside from just the open world, you're just getting like, there's just like right in the beginning of this game, and like where it takes place in the OG, we're gonna get like this massive lore dump, I'm assuming, and we're gonna learn so much about a certain individual, and it's just gonna freaking just keep going, and we're just gonna get so much. So like, again, like, it's just a setup. Remake was the setup for like what everything actually is going to be happening and everything that matters. So it was just kind of
exciting to think about that we're going to get the third game in maybe 4 years too. Like, we're not waiting 20 years to get the third, the final act of this. Like, so that's nice too.
Yeah, very much so. And
it might be the next. This is the Two Towers of.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's thematic.
Yeah.
Best in the trilogy, meaning? Is that what that means?
Yeah, I think that's kind of
because Two Towers is the best, and the suck it.
Not that I want the third Final Fantasy VII reimagining to be lesser than this one. I'm just so excited that this one.
Actually heard the third Final Fantasy reimagining is just going to be Dirge Cerberus. That's what I heard.
That's all it is. Right. Yeah, you're just shooting with Vincent.
I quit, man. I quit.
It's just Dirge Cerberus.
I quit. I freaking quit, man. Just can't.
Yeah, man, very, very excited for this. And so next week we'll spend a healthy chunk of our time together talking all about this game.
You too.